Good evening, and thank you for tuning in to Tea Time with Dr. G and the Doctors. And as Dr. G would always do, share the tea of the day. My drink of the day is simply water, H2O. And so as I sip on the beautiful H2O, that is the drink of the day. It hydrates your soul, it fills you up. So please get some mouth-watering, refreshing water that we got from Quick Trip. We'll be right back as we air the next episode of Beauty Beyond the Scars. We'll be right back. Thank you.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Welcome back to Talking Tea Time with Dr. G and the Doctors. I'm your co-host, Levon Singleton, and today I have the esteemed pleasure and privilege of interviewing two beautiful women who today will share beauty beyond the scars. And so I'm going to turn to my immediate left, and I'm going to start with Dr. Tish Glasper. And this is a very personal episode, and I'm going to ask that Dr. G would share with you some scars, some personal scars that she has, and we're going to talk about the beauty behind the scars.
Okay.
Dr. G?
Thank you, Dr. Singleton. So, hey, Dr. Smith, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you
great,
today?
Great. So, a lot of people, they don't know what happened. So, I was 3 years old, and I was hit by an 18-wheeler semi-truck.
Wow.
Okay? And so, the result from that accident, the tire of the truck, it crushed my right leg. And so from ages 3 to 12, in and out of the hospital, surgery after surgery after surgery, they told my parents that they wanted to, amputate the leg. And my parents said, no, do whatever you have to do to save it. And so, the doctors told my parents that I would never run or walk or do anything that the other children did, but God. And so, growing up, it was, when I was younger, it really wasn't as bad because I was younger. I was in and out of the hospital with the surgeries. My teachers would come to the hospital with my homework. I would go to school in a wheelchair, or I had my crutches, but I had an awesome support system.
Right.
So for me, it didn't really, my physical scar to my leg, it didn't really start bothering me until that 16, 17 year stage, because that's when I started liking boys and boys start liking me. And so I was always ashamed because I didn't want them to see what my leg looked like. I didn't want them to make fun of me. So I carried that with me because I thought I would never get a boyfriend and boys wouldn't like me, or the girls wouldn't like me because my leg was different. I never wore shorts growing up. Because I didn't want people to see it. I didn't wear short dresses. And so it was a mind thing for me. It really was a mind thing for me. And I carried that scar with me a very long, long time. But then I got to a point where I realized that there was beauty beyond my scar.
Wow.
And that I was a beautiful woman inside and outside. And if I was to meet someone and we were to start dating, if he really loved and cared for me, my physical scar wouldn't bother him because he would be able to look beyond that. And so over the years, I still have problems with it. You know, when it rains outside, I'm in a lot of pain. If I do too much walking, I'm in a lot of pain. But as I grew and my relationship with God became stronger and stronger, then I became more confident in myself. This is a part of me. This is a scar that is a part of me, and I have to learn to live with it and live with it knowing that I am beautiful. Besides this scar, it's just a part of me, but I'm still a beautiful woman. And Dr. Smith and I, we were college roommates. And so Dr. Smith can testify to how I never wanted anyone to see my scars. Dr. Smith.
Yeah, so Tish and I, like she said, we were roommates, and I can remember, you know, when you're sharing a room and a bathroom with someone, you know how you kind of are in your bra and in your panties and you're running around the apartment or whatever. Tish was always covered up, always covered up. And I remember one time, you know, just thinking and asking what's wrong. And, you know, because after you stay with somebody for so long and she walking around with this big fluffy robe on, I'm like, what's wrong? And I seen it. I seen her leg, and I could see where she could have problems because of the physical aspect of it, but understanding how she feels, because I have a scar too. So I understand the complexity that comes with it. My scar happened later on. Tish dealt with issues as a child. I dealt with issues as a young woman, as an adult. So my scar is on my face. It's on the right side of my face. I was out at a club and I was breaking up a fight. And with me being in the middle, a woman took an ice pick trying to attack another person. That's why violence is so dear to my heart, and I don't condone it. She took the ice pick and was trying to stab someone else and caught me in the face. So the ice pick went down the right side of my face. The right side of my face was split all the way open down to the bone. You could see the flesh inside. You could see the bone inside. It was bleeding so bad. I had on an off-white outfit that night. And the people that I was there with told me, don't look at your face. Don't look at your face. When we went to the hospital, I was conscious. They said, whatever you do, don't look at your face, because they didn't want me to see what it was. I didn't look at my face until after I had to get stitches in the inside and the outside. But to make a long story short, when you're in your 20s and you have a scar that's visible on your face, it's not under my clothes, it's not, Tish, you could hide your scar. I can't hide my scar. I had to learn how to love me, and my face was distorted. I couldn't wash my hair for days because it had blood and everything in it. I had to learn how to cope with what was, as of 20 years old, 21 years old, what I'm going to look like. How am I going to come out of this? Who's going to like me? Who's going to want to talk to me? What are they going to say? How am I going to cope with this? So I totally understand where you are and how you felt.
Wow. Wow, that is simply amazing just to hear you, two beautiful young ladies, tell your story and share with the world that you are scarred. So let me just ask this question here regarding your scar to Carol. You mentioned you were scarred and had to deal with it as an adult. Tish, you were scarred as a child. What kind of advice, what can you share with that young lady or young man out there that's scarred right now? You know, they have physical scars that's keeping them from having the high self-esteem and achieving in society. Give me just 30 seconds of something that you would share with them, and then Dr. G will come to you.
First thing is, you cannot run from whatever it is. it will always haunt you if you run from your problem. You literally have to deal with your insecurities, what it is that you are running from. You have to sit with yourself. You have to sit with God and not question God, but ask God how to deal with it, how to work through it. And until you do that, you will never have peace. You will never have peace.
Yes.
Wow. Awesome.
And to piggyback off of what Dr. Smith said, she's correct. I had to learn to look at myself in the mirror and say, you are fabulous. Yes, you have physical scars. Yes, you have days when you are in pain and no one knows that you're in pain. So to that person that's dealing with that physical scar, whether, Dr. Carroll said, where it's visible or it's not visible, you have to say to yourself, I am fabulous just the way that I am. And whomever is going to love me, they're going to love me with the scar and all, with the pain and all. They are going to love me through this. And that's what I would say to that person that's dealing with those scars. You have to look in the mirror and say, I am fabulous just the way I am.
Wow. Wow. Simply amazing. We have to all know and remember that we are beautifully and wonderfully made. We are all made in the image of God. And so scarred or whatever it is, we have to know and understand that God made us in his image.
Yes, he did.
Okay? And you are a child of the King. You are a child of the King. So no scar or no wound will ever stop you from living out your true and your full beauty. Okay? We're going to take a commercial break, and we will be right back to wrap up the show.
How you doing?
Hey, Mason.
Hey, Mason.
Thank you.
A place to make my own. A place that I call home. This place that I call home.
Hey, boss. Okay.
Said I'm fine.
Put me to bed, see you in the morning. With the frosted Superman, but it wasn't on it. And we lost it. In my head, in my head, in my head. Where you at? On the left, in my head.
Hey, son.
Hey, Bob.
You know you can talk to me.
Yeah.
Good evening and welcome back to Talking Tea Time with Dr. G and the doctors. Again, I'm Dr. Singleton, and we have with us Dr. Carol Smith and Dr. Tish Glasper, and they have just really shared some powerful emotions regarding some physical scars that they have endured throughout this journey that we call life. And so in the earlier episode, they shared some of their physical ailments and gave some really powerful advice on how to cope with those scars. Now we're going to just simply talk about life after the scars and how do we move forward? What's next and how do we move? So Carol, I'll start with you. What's next? How do we move beyond the physical scars?
Well, I want to talk about just not physical, because we all are flawed, in certain kind of ways. Tish and I just happen to share one common denominator, and ours is a physical scar, but many of us deal with internal scars. And I would say, Dr. Singleton and Dr. G, I take it day by day. Every day brings a different challenge my way. And to be honest with this group and to our viewers, you have to take it slow, you have to be mindful, and you have to, depend on God every step of the way. Some days, I wake up and I'll tell you what's interesting, how God uses me. People will look at me and say, oh my God, you are so beautiful. And that's just, I don't know, confirmation that he has used me, because how many people can have a half-inch long scar on their face and be considered beautiful. But I know it's more than just what meets the eye. It's internal, you know? So what goes on inside of me is resonating on the outside of me. That's where the true beauty comes from. So I will tell people the next steps for me is leaning on God more and more every day, because I battle with the physical scar, but many of us battle with the internal scar. And we have to lean on God through the healing process. Every scar has to heal. And during that healing process, you must lean on God. You must lean on God. So those are steps that I do. Those are next steps for me, is to draw closer and closer to God, and for God to use me, for God to use my scar as my story.
Wow. Tish?
So the next steps for me, as Dr. Smith stated, is to use my scar to help someone else. And it is a struggle for me some days, because, and I can be transparent on this platform and say, I wore a swimsuit maybe just 3 years ago, and I was able to go to the beach, and I felt comfortable enough to walk around with my wrap on, and it didn't bother me that they could see my scar. And that took a lot. So it's an everyday journey for me, but every day I'm beginning to get more comfortable with my scar. So when I'm wearing flip-flops now, I'm like, okay. And if someone asks what happened, I tell them what happened. You know, I'm an educator. So when my students, they'll say, oh my God, Dr. G, what happened? I will tell them what happened, and then I'll explain to them, this is why you don't make fun of other children. When you see students that's different from you, because you don't know what happened to them. And so it is a daily process, and I pray and I ask God every day, strengthen me, because there are days when I'm in so much pain, but I keep moving and I keep shrugging, because I never wanted anyone to have a pity party for me. I never wanted anyone to say, oh my God, poor you. No, I never wanted that. So I was determined that I was going to get beyond this leg, because it's more to Dr. G than this leg. So I was determined that, again, I was going to be the best me, and that this happened to me for a reason, because I even questioned God, like, why would you allow an 18-wheeler to run over me? Why would you allow that to happen? But then I had to say, you did it so I can help someone else. So I can say, guess what? Just because you may have a physical scar, that does not determine who you are. And so I live it now. It's okay. It's a part of me. And those that embrace it, they embrace it. Those that don't, okay, you just don't. But again, I have been blessed with people that it doesn't matter. We know you had an accident. Okay, what about it? You're still Tish. You're still a beautiful individual. So it is a daily process. And again, nobody but God. Because to wear a swimsuit, it'll be, and with people around, and I'm walking around, but I had my swimsuit on, I had on my floppy hat with my flip-flops, and I was okay. I was okay with it, and I'm okay now. You know, another thing, going to get a pedicure. Oh my God. How can I do that? How can I go and get a pedicure and everybody's looking at me? But when I went to my first pedicure, she said, what happened to you? And I explained it to her. She said, oh my God, but you're still beautiful. That helps when you hear that. So now I'm getting me some pedicures every other week. I'm here. And so it just became, it's a part of me. And again, my parents, my entire life, my parents never made me feel like, oh my God, you have to hide it. They never made me feel that way. They always told me, you are beautiful. And just because that happened to you, you're still beautiful. And to those doctors that said what I wouldn't do, look at me now. Look at me now. And so that's what helps me get through it. That's what helps me get through it.
And I think that so much of what you all are sharing, I think a lot of people are dealing with it. It may not be a physical scar, but it could be an emotional scar.
Yes, it is.
You know, scars of depression and scars of bad relationships and all of those kinds of things. And so even though it's physical, to you, for so many of others, they've internalized it. And so it becomes an issue. And I think that everybody can learn from your stories. You know, Takara, you said, keep trusting in God. You know, God has made us in his image and his likeness, and there's absolutely no reason that we can't live just how God made us. Okay. And so I'm in awe listening to your stories and listen to you talk about your scars, because you have to wear them. But I can tell you, you two are wearing them beautifully. Takara, you look good, girl. You look good. You are beautiful. Tish, you are beautiful.
Thank you,
I
Dr.
just
Singer.
love you, girl.
Thank you.
I'm going to the beach with you next time, all right? Absolutely. And so I just enjoy being around these two ladies because we can be real with each other.
Yeah,
we can
absolutely.
share. But at the end of the day, I just think that God can use you no matter how you are, okay?
Yes.
He can use you in any situation. And so to Carol, just talk about how God has used you with your scars. What kind of things have God done for you, girl?
Well, actually, to piggyback off what Tish said, to put me on a platform to where lights are in my face, to where people are zoomed into my face, tells you how great God is. Because for me to have been traumatized in my face and be sitting in front of people that are staring dead at me, I know he's using me. I know he's using my voice. I know he's using my heart, and I know he's using my soul. So I will tell anybody, trust in God and his plan for your life, and let him take the wheel.
Wow. Wow. Tish?
And I would say, you know, just like Ms. Smith said, God has a plan for you. And all of those things, they seem petty to me now, like, oh, he not gonna like me and all of this. That was just pettiness. It really was, because I can call the devil a liar right now.
Yes.
Because,
Absolutely,
you know,
Tish.
I have the opportunity to, you know, to date, and it doesn't bother him, because he's looking at me, and he's into me. He's not looking at that. And so I can let the devil know, you didn't win. You thought you did, but you did not. And so, you know, scripture clearly says that no weapon formed against you shall prosper.
No.
So
Absolutely.
this old leg, we gonna be okay. And so, you know, it's just confirmation that through it all, through the pain and through all of that, God made us in his image, and we're fearfully and wonderfully made. And I bless him for that. So every day when I wake up, this scar is a part of me, but I use this scar to help that young lady or to help that young man that thinks that I can't make it or I'm the ugly duckling. No, you're not. You're not the ugly duckling. My scar is used for ministry to help those individuals to know that you can make it.
And I can just hear y'all here. If we was in church right now, somebody would start singing, if I could help somebody
Yes,
as I travel along.
Yeah.
If I could help somebody through a word or song, if I
Yes.
could show somebody that they're traveling wrong, then my living is not in vain. I appreciate you ladies for sharing your stories, powerful stories. And I think that someone out there will listen to the episode, will listen to the shows, and embrace the beauty that God has so eloquently enamored them and made them in. We'll be right back as we close out this segment. Dr. Smith will give us our final word of the day. So we'll see you shortly.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma. I have a mentor, and she convinced me to continue my education. No one receives a diploma alone. If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, go get it. You can do it.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
You know, it took 20 years, and I got my third child, who was 17 at the time.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
Dad?
Just 1 minute, okay?
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Welcome back to Talking Tea Time with Dr. G and the doctors. And we're going to have Carol Smith, Dr. Smith, to give us our final tip of the day. Dr. Smith?
Whether you are dealing with your internal scar or your external scar, don't run from the problem or the flaw or the scar. Because when you run from it, it increases the distance to your solution. Embrace what you have going on. Ask God to give you discernment and direction, and be at peace with that. Be at peace with your scar. Be at peace with your flaw. And God will continue to lead you and direct you.
Dr. Smith, thank you so much for sharing the tip of the day. And as we close out this segment, we simply want to say, continue to tune in. Our next segment, we got some real powerful stuff coming up, and we'll see you soon. All right? Have a good evening. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
If you love them enough to relearn math so you can teach them math, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Every day,
Millions of people are connecting
and even though we're overcoming obstacles, watching each other's backs,
and banding together.
we should still make an effort
We should still make an effort
to get to know each other.
on a deeper level.
Father,
Cosplayer,
Mentor.
actor.
it's time we take a step forward
It's time we take a step forward, come together,
and discover
how accepting our differences
can make us stronger.